President Trump reportedly telling Israel not to kill Iran's supreme leader. We've seen how many high-level officials they've been able to take out in intel and defense operations in the Air Force. There was this report that they had the opportunity at the supreme leader, according to a U.S. official. Prime Minister Netanyahu not confirming that, but here's what he says about possibly taking him out as this war continues. Watch.
So are you going to target the supreme leader?
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details.
Do you understand his concern this would escalate the conflict beyond where it is already?
No, it's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict.
All right, let's bring in Brian Hook, former U.S. Special Representative for Iran and Special Policy Advisor to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Both of them reportedly had been on Iran's target list. Brian, good to have you back. Thank you for joining us. What is your reaction to that exchange that you just heard with Jonathan Karl? I'm sure that Netanyahu understands that that would be a significant move to take out the Ayatollah, but he also believes that it might be one that would help to liberate some people in Iran who would like to see that happen. Do you think that is what Netanyahu will ultimately do, or do you think the United States is trying to persuade him not to do that?
I think Prime Minister Netanyahu has been in a good partnership with the United States during this military campaign. The United States has been helping on the defensive side, helping to protect Israelis from Iranian attacks. Mm-hmm. My sense is that Prime Minister Netanyahu is fully appropriating whatever messages that are being conveyed by President Trump in the administration. My sense is President Trump is doing everything possible to try to achieve a diplomatic solution to this on the American side. And so you almost have two parallel tracks going. You have the Israeli military campaign to deal with an imminent threat by the Iranians. And then you have President Trump, who continues to keep the door open for diplomacy. And in the clip you showed earlier, Martha, the president was talking about the Iranians should immediately come back to the negotiating table. And I think that speaks to his desire to try to solve this diplomatically. He gave the Iranians 60 days, and Steve Witkoff negotiated them with them over a series of talks, and those went nowhere. And that was a mistake by the Iranians.
So, you know, there's another report in the Jerusalem Post just a few moments ago that President Trump's offering a last chance proposal that would include zero enrichment of uranium on the part of Iran. I mean, do you imagine a scenario where there is enough trust that we could generate in that kind of arrangement? And what do you think about Israel's contention that, look, Fordo must go, and this is the moment in history to clean out that operation once and for all?
It does seem to be like now is the time if that objective of zero enrichment is going to be achieved. Israel is dramatically degrading Iran's nuclear capabilities. We'll see if they're able to get to Fordo, but they are dramatically degrading. They haven't eliminated the nuclear threat. Obviously, it's early innings on this. We're probably at the midway point. I still think, we probably have weeks ahead of this, barring, other variables. But the nuclear enrichment piece is the question. I think the Israelis want to get to a point where Iran either doesn't have the capability to enrich, or there is a diplomatic agreement that Iran will no longer enrich nuclear material. They certainly don't need to enrich in order to have peaceful nuclear power. So I think that's where this is going. And I think that one of the consequences of this military action is that President Trump acquires enough leverage at the negotiating table to get zero enrichment in a new Iran nuclear deal.
Yeah, and obviously it would have to be anywhere, anytime inspections and no secret facilities, which is a tough one because that has been Iran's way of getting where they have been able to achieve in this process so far. Brian Hook, thank you very much. Always good to have you here. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Martha.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.